Packers versus Patriots. It's going to be a fun offensive game to watch, especially since for whatever reason one of the better players in the defensive secondary for the Packers just got traded away. Doesn't make any sense to me. They're in a good divisional race right now. But whatever. It's what they decided to do. They're probably not planning on re-signing Clinton Dix anyway, and they've kind of got a history of trading away safeties. They traded away Micah Hyde, who's fantastic, to the Bills, and I guess they just don't value that position extremely well, or they think they can consistently find safeties that are useful in the draft. Either way, they're not keeping Clinton Dix. So their defense is going to take a hit here. That's going to leave openings for Patriots wide receivers. By that I really mean Danny Amendola, because nobody else is... Julian Edelman. Man. Edelman is the only consistent target for them in the wide receiver passing game. Chris Hogan showed flashes. Prescott shows flashes. Cordell Patterson shows flashes. But that's only because Tom Brady spreads the ball around extremely well and finds the guy who can beat his matchup consistently very well. Edelman is just a key cog in the offense. The offense is predicated on short passing, getting the ball out of Tom Brady's hands as fast as possible, and Edelman's a very good close to the line of scrimmage target. Weird how all the close to the line of scrimmage targets do extremely well in New England. The best fantasy plays that you have in New England are Tom Brady, Julian Edelman, Rob Gronkowski, and James White. Now, Sony Michel's joined that lineup more recently. He's the best pure runner, but he's been hurt, and he's still going to be hurt. So, James White, the rest of the way, absolute lock at running back 1 to 2 almost every week the rest of the season. He's carved out a very effective niche for himself in the passing game, and when Sony Michel's down, he gets a lot of carries too. So, James White should be in everybody's lineup. It's not going to be an exception in this game. He's going to do extremely well. Edelman's going to do okay. He's actually not been great this year, most likely because of the emergence of James White in this offense, but he's always a play. So if he's not a wide receiver 2, he's a wide receiver 3, simply because of the nature of his position in this offense. Gronkowski has not been a world beater this year. He's not seen the end zone since week 1. Well, in years past, it seemed nobody could match up with him. And then, if you were listening to the coverage last week with the Bills game, all of a sudden they have linebackers that are very well suited to match up against Gronkowski one-on-one. Specifically here I'm talking about Matt Milano, but that never happened before. Gronkowski was a matchup nightmare for anybody, so he's lost enough in his game to come back down to earth. And for him, that just means coming back to the pack for tight ends. He's no longer head and shoulders above everybody else in the league. He's only in line with the other good tight ends. So, now he's got Travis Kelce and Eric Ebron honestly competing with him as the better tight ends to play in fantasy, whereas before it was no contest. So, he's not lost so much that he's a bad play. He's always going to be a good play. Just, Jimmy Graham's on the other side of the ball, just as good of a play as Gronkowski. Now, for the rest of what's going on in Green Bay, I expect Aaron Rodgers to come out angry. He does not have enough talent around him. It's his largest complaint. Problem is, the biggest reason for that is he's the highest paid person in the league right now. He draws so much of the salary cap, they can't afford to put a lot of talent around him. They have to draft intensely well. in order to have a deep team. Now, they've actually done a good job of that, just not a great job. You know, they haven't had a draft like the Saints had last year, where they got multiple key positions filled that just stepped in right away. Denver had a similar draft this year, where they had key positions filled in multiple spots right away. They haven't done that in Green Bay in a long time. And just trading away one of their better defensive players doesn't really help, so I'd expect Rodgers to be angry about that and come out on fire. Now that means you're going to get a lot of things going over towards Adams, because he's definitely the number one wideout in this group. The rest of the wideouts have been kind of odd. You've got Allison that might do well one week, might not the next, and who's the rest of their receiving core anyway? These guys shouldn't really be in most people's lineups. The receiving threats to take are Adams and Graham. Graham is a tight end 1 most weeks, tight end 2 in his bad weeks, or you might not have a tight end 2, most leagues don't, but he's always close to the top because it's a weak year for tight ends. He's found a lot in the offense between the 20s. They do a good job of finding him for first downs. They don't do a good job of finding him for touchdowns. With the absence of Ty Montgomery, though, the short passing game and the running game are going to come into more focus. They traded him away, dropped him like a hot rock, just like he dropped that ball and ruined their game last week. So, Jones is going to be a much stronger play because there's less competition in the backfield. He's going to be tickling that flex pay to running back 2 conversation most weeks the rest of the season. And Graham turned into a better fantasy tight end because there's one less person collecting short passes from Aaron Rodgers. I would expect Graham to be the primary beneficiary of this move, as Montgomery wasn't necessarily a good running threat, as he was the running threat that was also a good receiving threat. So Graham's going to get better targets in the red zone and more frequent ones. He's going to get a good boost. Aaron Rodgers is going to be hot because of the talent being depleted on the team in a year that they are still competing for a playoff spot. And, the Patriots are the Patriots, and they are at home. But I expect Green Bay to come out of there with a W.